Hello everybody, welcome back to the Zumo Robot Arduino setup video and installation video. Today we are going to be going over the line follower example. So we opened this in the last episode where I showed you how to use the bars up the top, but today we're actually going to run through the file itself. This is going to be a really quick overview, and then in the next two episodes I'm going to go into each section and we're actually going to code it. So let's start at the top. It's just a bit of a message from Zumo, sorry. I'm telling you about their motors and stuff like that. So we can ignore this. You can go to the websites if you want. Pretty cool little sites. As you can see here, we are installing the library. So for the robot to work, you need to be able to tell the robot where each one of its hardware parts are. And inside these libraries is where it tells it. So hashtag include means include, and it's got the library directory, and that's the library name just there. So that's all obviously the sensors. That's also that's obviously the reflector sensor. So that's also the sensors. This is for the motors, this is for the buzzer, and this is for the button, as you can see. So you need to include that for it to be able to find the different parts. Otherwise, when you try and define all these other things, it's not going to work. This section here is defining variables, and these are global variables because they're not inside. So let's say we moved all this into here. It'd only be for this section here, because when you define a variable, if it's outside, let's say it's outside here, it's globally, everything can see it. If you do it inside, it's not globally, it's domestic. No, it's just, yeah, you can't do it. But anyway, we're defining variables here, so we're defining the buzzer. You need to change it like this so the code can read it. So it's referring to the library and it's giving that library a name just so the code can refer to it, if that makes sense. So let's say like down here it says buzzer.play, it's reading that buzzer and it's referring back to the library. You need to do this, so make sure you include that if you want to start coding, but we can go over that in the next episode. Then just defining some other ones and then making a integer for later on where it uses this integer here. Integer means number, so we're just defining some global variables. Max speed here is also another global variable because it refers to it all the way through. It needs to be seen by both, and it needs to be able to be changed in a global way. So we define it just there as well. That just means constant number, and then so it's a constant number. Then we can see here we have a void setup loop thingamajiggy. So the setup will only play once. That's obviously a predefined. That's a predefined thing inside the code. So setup will only play it once, and this is used for the calibration. So we'll go through this in English. Oh, yeah, this is for the calibration. We won't go through this. We'll go through this next episode. But void setup will play once. That's the first ever thing the robot will play, and then it moves on to void loop, and void loop will continue on until it cannot do this anymore, and it will just stop. Or the way this is coded, it actually keeps doing it, keeps doing it, and then when you get to the end of the black line that it has to follow a black line. It just does these two over and over again. It doesn't move or anything because it doesn't work out any of the speed because it can't find the black line. So that's a pretty cool way to set it up as well. But we'll go over that in deeper meaning in the next episode. And that's actually going to do it for today. That went very quickly, but you know what? That's good because we only want quick episodes, because if they go for too long, you're going to get bored and I'm going to start to ramble. So just to go over it one more time, you're including your libraries, importing your libraries, setting some global variables, setting another global variable, and then go into the void setup. It plays a song, it initializes the reflectors, waits for a button press from you, then it turns the light on, so that's just assigning the pin a number, assigning pin 13 as output, and it turns the light on with an analog signal, makes it high. Then it delays by 1,000 seconds, does some other math stuff, we'll go over that in a minute, sets the motors back to default, so this is calibrating, sets the motors back to 0, 0, which means it's going to be in the middle. It's then going to turn that light off with another analog signal, play the buzzer again to tell you that it's done calibrating. It's going to wait for you to press the go button, and it's going to play another signal, and this is just going to wait for it to stop, and then it's going to end the loop, and it's not a loop, sorry, it's going to end the setup, and it's going to go onto the loop. It's then going to define the 6 sensors inside the sensor library. We define that in the global variables. It's then going to make a variable for the reflectors. It's then going to make a variable for the error, and it's going to give it a default position. Then it's going to make a variable for the math for the speed difference, so that's how fast it knows to go. It's then going to reassign last error, which is used here, but we define it up in the global variables, so it's going to give last error the same value as error, which we determined here. And then it's going to set the 2 speeds. and it's going to tell it how to move, and then it's going to output it to the motors. So that's what all that does. We're going to go through that deeper in the next 2 episodes. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go to the next episode because we're going to be going over the void setup, and then in the episode after that we're going to go through void loop. So continue on. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.